What I've come to appreciate when you're working on changing your life, changing some bad habit, getting out of addictive situations or relationships, or working to build a dream or making a difference in our society, or learning something that's very challenging. Here's what I realize, ladies and gentlemen, and develop a great deal of respect for. It's hard. Easy is not an option. It's hard living. Life is hard.
Life is suffering. Right. Indisputable. What do you do about that? You voluntarily accept it and then strive to overcome the suffering that's a consequence of that.
I imagine that everybody in this room has experienced some large or small feelings of pain or discomfort. And I know that some of you in this room have already been through some really tough stuff. In fact, I'm sure that there are many of you sat here today that are slap bang in the middle of huge challenges in your life. And if you have breezed through life to this point unscathed by some miracle, then I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're going to go through something awful as well. And what a pleasant way to begin a TED Talk. But I actually do think there is something positive in this knowledge. Because if you can accept that pain and suffering are part of our human experience, that it is something that connects us all, that none of us are immune, then you can begin to build a really amazing life, regardless of all the challenges that you know that you're going to face. And that is powerful.
These words have been uttered by many for thousands of years. Philosophers and authors, religious leaders, and it's one of the 4 noble truths of Buddhism. Canadian psychologist and author Jordan Peterson has focused on the theme in great detail in his lectures, speeches, and through the course of his book, 12 Rules for Life.
There's a deep idea in the West too. It's like, pick up your damn suffering and bear it and try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. Well, that's a truth, you know. I read a lot about the terrible things that people have done to each other. You just cannot even imagine it. It's so awful. So you don't want to be someone like that. Now, do you have a reason to be? Yes. You have lots of reasons to be. God, there's reasons to be resentful about your existence. Everyone you know is going to die. You know, you too. And there's going to be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's going to be unfair. It's like, yeah.
And recently, self-development coach Holly Matthews, in her TED Talk, Tough Luck, Accepting Life's Unfairness, will set you free.
So we'll have something tough happen. The breakup of a relationship, a job loss. And
it's a theme which is ever present, and never more apparent in modern society than right now, during this coronavirus pandemic. It's a crisis which needs empathy, clear thinking, rationality, science, kindness. It needs the best of all of us. In our most recent podcast, Holly Matthews and I spoke for great length about these things. She details how important it is to look after yourself and tend for your mental health during these difficult times.
It's really normal for you to feel anxious in this. Like, it's okay to feel sad about this. It's okay to grieve the loss of the year you thought you were going to have. Like, that's...
Holly is a truly inspiring woman who has been through the absolute ringer and come out the other side as strong as anyone I've ever met. She's explained her story many times before in the national press, on her YouTube channel and website, and in her TED Talk. Sort of a through message in that TED Talk, which is, on the surface of it, incredibly pessimistic, but is also incredibly freeing.
Well, the name of the talk is Tough Luck, Why Accepting Life's Unfairness Will Set You Free.
As well as her tragic and inspiring story, she's a successful television actor and the creator of a course called the Happy Me Project, which is a useful tool for anyone looking for some guidance and motivation right now. or in the future. During the podcast, we also discuss the highs and the obvious lows of life during this pandemic. The hopes we have for life once the pandemic passes, the potential togetherness it could inspire, and the different skill sets and perspectives every one of us has and can bring to the table. It also made me think of more words from Jordan Peterson. Here he talks about the importance of the left and the right working together.
But maybe it's moving the needle towards where it needs to be.
I think that happens. I mean, I certainly believe that there's space and necessity for a constant dialogue between the left and the right. This is also something that I've been developing more particularly during these lectures. So I'm going to lay out a couple of propositions. So imagine that you have to move forward in the world. You have to do things. Mm-hmm. And the reason you have to do things is because, well, if you just sit there and don't do anything, then you suffer and die. So that isn't an option. You have to move forward. You have to move forward towards valued things. So you have to have a value hierarchy. It has to be a hierarchy because one thing has to be more important than another, or you can't do anything, right? You're too split with your choices. So you have to do things. You have to value some things more than others. Then you have to act out what you value in the social environment because you're a social creature and you're not going to do things alone. Then as soon as you start to act out things of value in the social environment, you inevitably produce a hierarchy. And the reason you do that is because no matter what you're acting out, some people are way better at it than others. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's basketball or hockey or plumbing or law. It doesn't matter. As soon as there's something valuable and you're doing it collectively, there's a hierarchy. Okay, so then what happens? Well, the hierarchy can get corrupt and rigid, and then it stops rewarding competence and it starts rewarding criminality and power. And so there's always the danger the hierarchy will become corrupt. The right-wingers say, we really need the hierarchies and we should abide by them. That's sort of the motif of patriotism and positive group identity. And the left-wingers say, yeah, but wait a second. There's a problem here. A, your hierarchy can get corrupt and might. And B, because some people are way better at it than others, you're going to produce a bunch of dispossessed people at the bottom. And that's not only not good for the dispossessed people, it actually threatens the whole hierarchy. So you have to be careful. You have to attend to the widows and the children, let's say, the widows and the orphans. Okay, and so now you can think about that as an eternal problem. You can't do without hierarchies, but, and that's the right-wing claim in some sense, you can't do without hierarchies and they're valuable, but they're also prone to corruption and they dispossess people. Okay, so now that's an eternal problem. The question is, what do you do about it? And the answer to that is, there's no final answer to the problem. So what you have to do is you have to have a left wing and you have to have a right wing, and they have to talk all the time about whether the hierarchy is healthy and whether or not it's dispossessing too many people.
As we fight our way through perhaps one of the greatest challenges humanity has faced for over 50 years, it's more important now than ever that we work together. And to do that, we must set aside our differences. Basically said the same sort of things as what you said. A guy called Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peterson.
Has he written a book?
He has, 12 Rules for Life.
I'm listening to it right now.
Are you?
Yeah, I've just started reading it. And that's because I put a book proposal in. Scary times, exciting. But I put a book proposal in. And the editor said, my proposal, she said, it reminds me a little bit of that book. What I want to do, and this is probably only for my own fun, because this is my favorite thing, is having topics of conversation where it's a bit grey, where people don't have to be goodies and baddies. There is no such thing. We are all flawed. We are all liars. We are all lovely as well. There is no it's very grey. We can have two things that we find that must be polar opposites. Even when we're talking about grief, you can have laughter sat next to grief. You can have happy. People will often say to me, and I know it's never meant in an awful way, but they'll say, but you're getting through, but you're not really happy. I understand you're not really happy. And I'm like, but I am happy. I'm not happy about the fact my husband died. I don't think I have to say that to you, but I'm happy. I am happy. I cannot affect that that's happened. There's nothing I can do. I have an acceptance of that. A sad acceptance, but I have an acceptance. And people find it weird when two things are two ideas, or one person has an idea where they agree with it, but then on the other side they disagree. It's so, I find Because and I don't know if this is, because I certainly think in the entertainment world, we